continuous and great success. With truth and love will conquer all. For God our land, let us bless. Alma Mater, we pray. Continuous and great success. With truth and love will conquer all. For God our land, let us bless.
Remember that your water, cry, cleanse, and flow. Your air, be still, focus, and decide. Your fire, burn, tame, and ignite. Your sky, dream, seek, and fly. Bearing this positive thought in our minds, hearts, and souls, let us start this beautiful day. A very delightful morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the management and principal, Dr. Katie Thomas, Sir, of St. Francis de Sales College, Nagpur, I, Simran Trivedi, student of BA second year and your host for the day, extend a warm welcome to every one of you on the 17th day of Faculty Development Program. Maintaining academic excellence is very crucial for achieving success in life. So, to enlighten us on the topic, sustaining academic excellence, we have in our midst Father Dr. George Thadithil, SDB. Father George completed his PhD in Philosophy and Christian Studies from the University of Madras and as ICPR Fellow. He did his MPhil at the University of Madras. Father took his degree in theology from Salesian Pontifical University, Rome. His MA and Masters in Philosophy was completed at JDV, Pune. He did BA Honours from the University of North Bengal. Father had pursued his higher secondary education from St. Anthony's College, NEHU, Shillong, and completed his high school at Don Bosco, Manatee, Kerala University. Father is presently the principal of Salesian College at its Sonada, Darjeeling and Siliguri campuses in West Bengal, India. Besides administration, he is engaged in coordinating the research projects of the various departments of the college where he has been serving the cause of education for the past 20 years. He has authored Vision from the Margin, Study of Sri Narayana Guru Movement and edited 7 books and published over 30 papers both as articles in journals and as chapters in edited volumes. He is also the series editor of the Salesian Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences, now in its 10th year, and the founder director of Salesian Research and Translation Center. He is presently the president of All India Association for Christian Higher Education, AISHE. He was awarded by the International Association of Felicitators for the guidance of the institution of the NAC accreditation process in November 2019 at their annual conference. Before we proceed with the talk, all the viewers are requested to post their queries in the Google Meet and YouTube live chat box. Father, we are delighted to have you among us today. I now request you to share your insights on today's topic. Over to you, Father.
Thank you, young lady, for the warm welcome and introduction. Thanks to your principal, whom I can't see out here, for extending this invitation to me. Unfortunately, as most people in administration these days, though the campuses are not active physically, still keep people busy so much. I have not been able to join the previous days of your ongoing faculty development program, which I would have liked to, just to get a sense of what had gone before. Nevertheless, I would like to congratulate the College of St. Francis de Sales, NACPO, for thinking up this elaborate way of organizing a faculty development program. I'm sure those who have been through have had much to learn, especially listening to people from different locations, different experiences, different backgrounds coming and making their presentations. So we have today for this theme in your continued lecture series on faculty development, a session on sustaining academic excellence. What I will do for the coming 35 minutes or so in two parts, I'll try to address the issue from where I am located with my kind of background and my perceptions of where we are and where we could be heading. So I will use certain preliminary remarks to begin with and then move on to something that we have been working on collaboratively. Simran, who introduced me, I had to log out and log in, so I don't know if she mentioned about the fact that presently in this 3-year triennial term, I am presiding over an association called All India Association for Christian Higher Education. It has nearly 67, 70 years of history, and it was an attempt by then heads of institutions across the country to come together to give some kind of an orientation and especially training for young principals and faculty and students. And they have done it, and we have been doing it, I should say, over these decades in a concerted manner. And now we have a kind of a special, let's say, a think tank or a kind of a group that has come together to reflect on how do we improve or how do we go from where we are. So I thought, as a practical to the theory that I will talk in the first part, I would present to you some slides, which is a collective thinking, and would love to get your feedback on that as well. So let me enter into the first part. So when we say that all of us, who are stakeholders, who are participants, who have with varied years of history in higher education in India, when we say where we are located in our own respective institutions, that we would like to sustain, and I guess when we say we would like to sustain, what we actually mean is that we would like to go one better on where we have reached. Let's say take the case of your own institution, St. Francis de Sales, how in over the 3 NAC accreditations, you have constantly improved yourselves. So, academic excellence, when we say, is something that's at the heart of what we are trying to do, whether we are as a faculty teaching or as an office staff trying to keep records, or as someone in management trying to see how the amenities and facilities in the institution and in the campus can be constantly improved. So we are with our eyes and ears open all the time, whether we are participating in a lecture or in a conference or looking out for opportunities for research. We are looking how we can improve, get back to our own base and make the work that we do better than what it is. So it is in our heart and mind. The institutional enhancement, advancement, the faculty advancement, and the student welfare, at whose sake and with whom we are in this process. And of course, their parents and the wider society to which we are preparing these young men and women and sending them. So we have, like the tentacles, we have our ears and eyes open all around us. And are we observing? Are we seeing? Are we hearing what is happening around us? because that's what defines the quality that we internally say that we have, or the quality that someone comes to measure from outside as to where we are. So the definition or the parameters with which we define this quality that we are searching for, this excellence that we are looking at, gets defined in each of our institutions if we closely observe in the vision and mission and the core values of our own institutions. So we may be doing our respective tasks in our respective departments or schools, but we are constantly cross-checking, am I doing what I am doing against or as an advancement, a furtherance of the vision and mission of the institution to which I am. So this takes us to position our own individual institutional vision and mission against the so-called or the national perspective. So we know that we have the new education policy 2020. Prior to that, we had the new education policy of 1985. And prior to that, we had of 1956. So, prior even to that, in 1935, even before independence, if and when India becomes independent, what kind of an educational structure we would like to have was already laid out. So there is a kind of visioning and a programmatic action plan of a wider scale within which we are in each of our institutions operating. So when we say, this is my first premise, that we are trying to sustain quality, we are trying to improve on the excellence that we have achieved, we are looking at an issue whether we are meeting the target. And these targets are on the one side institutionally defined and on the other side nationally defined. So in other words, like let's say before 1956, and that is the year in which your college, for example, came into existence, there was no University Grants Commission. There was, before that, if you go back to the history of government aid to, let's say, private institutions like yours or mine, it would go back to the famous Macaulay's minutes and the discussions with Alexander Duff and Rajaram Mohan Roy and the famine that took place in Bengal and the missionaries who were doing work in Mofussil areas, and the government was not able to reach out, something like today's situation of the pandemic. And knowing that these men and women were in the Mofussil rural hinterlands of, the suffering masses, the government tells them, we will give you the financial aid, you please continue doing your education work. And mind you, that time the education was in the local medium language. And that's what the missionaries wanted, not English. For the first 150 years of British period, we know the historians among the audience, it was not English that was the medium. There was a debate between whether it should be Persian continuing or Sanskrit, and then between these Anglicists and the Sanskritists over a point of debate, and that's where Love and the Scottish Church College and its, Vivekananda, where he studied all those, institutions come to prominence. And so it's a kind of demand, not from the, let's say, the British, but from the emerging upper elite of then, who saw the world changing at that time. We are talking about 200, 250 years ago story, that something new is happening. So we need to be adapting. And that adaptation calls for English education for India. It was the Indian upper elite and the knowledgeable people of that time who pushed the Anglicists to making this choice. So I was coming to say about how the grant story started, So before that, it was then from 1956 onwards, and now with the new education policy, we are being told this University Grants Commission is going to go, and there's, the National Higher Education Committee that is going to come, NHREC Council. So just one, I mean, you have gone through the policy, I'm not going into the details of it, but I'm just giving this as an indication to show we are looking at a new world and a transition. Something new is in the offing. The base on which we operated seems to be shifting or taking new turn, new parameters of understanding what we should be doing. I make a mention of this because our search for and pursuit of and desire to sustain excellence is going to be conditioned and partly dependent on these changes that we are facing. This is my second submission. So each of us in our own institution should be asking how much of the changing scenario is going to affect the our own institutional vision and mission and our ability to continue with its application, and how much we ought to be little bit modifying it or reshaping it or rethinking on it. Now I come to another set of parameters with regard to defining the academic excellence that we are into. And this comes on the one side from the entire threat to environment. So now today's news, as we all know, is that Spain and other countries are fearing that the second wave of the pandemic is going to be even more strong and more lethal, and therefore they are back to kind of closure. And those of us in our country, after this nearly 8 months, have been trying to get people back to campuses, etc. Therefore, are going to be again under some kind of pressure to do some rethinking. And as a byproduct of this lockdown, no one denies that the environment and the kind of deterioration in the environmental health has drastically made a positive change. And this takes us to the kind of research and studies that are going on and the critique that is coming to where and how this environmental degradation started from, and to what kind of a predicament we have been brought, and who are the kind of responsible agents, etc. So we have a whole lot of discourse, those who are from political science, sociology, history, and the social science background, get what I am trying to drive at. So there is this, and you put it very simplistically or rather pointedly, it is to say that here is a kind of situation which is the outcome of a 250 or 300 years of a modernity and an industrial enterprise and a kind of technological consistent advancement, which has been the cause of the deterioration of the environment that we are presently in. So if we want to look for a solution, the solution cannot come from the same set of thinking, mode of thinking that created the problem. We have to think outside it. And now you will begin to see how in the new education policy too, there is this kind of a conflict of vision. In fact, on the one side, that India should continue to have educational institutions that will imitate, let's say, Stanford and Harvard and Princeton. And in fact, one of the framers himself is based in Princeton, and I've been there for 6 months doing my sabbatical. That's a different world of excellence. And we have aspirations. So we have, let's say, new universities emerging, and the other part of the new education policy makes room for the new players. And here, those of you who are listening to me from the samples that I can see are coming from these traditional institutions that paved the way for India to reach the stage of being able to compete. I was after a conference in Salem College on, the kind of educational work that we are doing, traveling back, and there was Amartya Sen just after he had received his Nobel Prize in the same flight, and I was talking to him. And I asked him, what do you think of the kind of work that, the Christian establishments have done across the country? And he said, it did a great service. When he says that, I mean, that's representative of the voice that we have heard from many people across the board, even though it is not officially recognized maybe or acknowledged as someone would have liked to in the education policy. But we have reached this stage because some people played a role. At the same time, we are being told, don't think, I mean, we cannot be pretentious or think that history will be always the same. So things are changing. And one of the indication of this change is that there's a different uh, thinking that is coming onto the scene, laying aside what has gone before. So we are, if in the search for preserving excellence, academic excellence, need to be conscious and need to be consciously making efforts to see how and how we can address this change. What are those things of the excellence that we have, which we need to retain in order to address these two. One, the ancient Nalanda Taxila type of, sensibilities and the pre-modern sensibility coming back as the salvaging factor to the new transition and the new way India should be. And on the other, the aspirations that we should play this mega role as a competitor to China, as the Asian modernity is coming onto the scene, and as the Western modernity is on the decline. So we know, and latest book that has come out about, the surveillance capitalism by Subhana Subov, and also in the other book called, the despotic age is called, I think. Yeah. So, the decline of democracy across the world. So here, so there is this environmental issue on the one side, the technological transitions on the other side, which is leading to what is happening. I mean, if you want to be in education, are you having something to do with the machine learning? Are we having robotics? Are we having artificial intelligence? Now, these are the things that is on the other side being the defining aspects, and therefore, in a way, this lockdown is pushing all of us into the online and the online mode of education and technology-driven life. So what's called the techno space. The techno space is going to be so much part of us and is going to define how institutions are being measured, and how individuals, the way they cope with these transitions are going to be measured, and where we as a nation or as a set of educational institutions will prepare what kind of clientele people to face this. So again, a summarized way of presenting. Now, this takes us to the other aspect that all of us are facing these days. The moment we talk of online education, the moment we talk of technological interventions to, have a new way of teaching and learning, and all of that goes with education, we also are faced with the digital divide. So the changes or the kind of students who are coming in to our institutions, wherever we are located, and their aspirations and their difficulties, their socio-economic condition. So just like we need to be addressing in order to keep at our quality and our excellence at the new things that are coming onto the scene, the new challenges, we also need to be looking at the challenges that are coming from the ground reality of the assessment telling us that in another 5 to 10 years time, we are going to have more people poor on this planet than less people. So the entire kind of talk that the planet is getting depleted, the resources are depleted, the environment is getting polluted, life on the planet is becoming miserable. So the few who can survive, should they be looking through this artificial intelligence and the technology and the space shuttles that will take us, by introducing amoeba to the planet Mars and making it habitable. So you see, on the one side, the whole logic of preserving the habitation on this planet and seeing that to be habitable on Earth means not only anthropocentric kind of understanding that of we the humans are the masters and we have the right to decimate all of the rest of life, which again is being attributed to the kind of modernity that brought us here, and a way of seeing in which we are just one of the species. And when we look for the kind of harmonious living, it's not only harmonious living between other human beings, but with all beings. So this is a totally new perspective. I mean, something that we knew at the gut level, something that is there in our civilizational history. And I'm glad that some of these is coming back. I mean, it's being brought to the open space. You know, I mean, I could take this further along, but I'll just make a final intervention along this line by saying that in the present discourse of this transition, we have, you know, dearth of critical thinking. Though we pride ourselves in saying that, you know, entire education is critical thinking and, you know, the modern spirit is critical thinking, if we look at the investment that we made in this modern education, which in a way paved way for the modern Indian constitution, which in a way talks about a way in which we can coexist, living through and sublimating and sustaining the kind of differences that we have in the society. And that kind of coexistence and the secular, to use the word, you know, has been unique for Indian history, and it's a civilizational heritage, and it is nothing new that was imported just from Europe or elsewhere. And that's the core of the Gandhian Nehruvian vision, which is what we were used to. Now that's coming under terrific pressure. That is coming under stress. So if that is happening from within, this is what the, you know, people are talking about at the intellectual circles of discourse today. The left did not do, who were usually the inheritors of the critical thinking, did not do their role sufficiently well in Indian analysis of Indian situation, and that created a lacuna in entire academia, keeping silence on the question of religion as a point of discourse. And because religion never got discussed in our academic circles, and the left did not even consider that as a possibility, because of, you know, that religion itself is a false consciousness, and you know, is the opium of the people, etc. So they kept out, and we were afraid to talk, and therefore faith as an alternative, or faith and reason always went together, even in the time of enlightenment. So this need to bring faith back to discourse. We are having, you know, a series of conferences these days with Hong Kong University, with the Nehru, with Silchar University and our own institution, just looking at what's the kind of transition religion has had only in the Himalayan spaces where I am located. So, I mean, just to say, so this is, I make a mention of this because most of you listening to me from the kind of institution that I am located in, we give so much emphasis to value education, to moral science. We say that, yes, and we do have a curriculum, and let's say we do have we do address in some sense, but have we brought our sociology and looked at the aspects of faith and its transitions in our neighborhood into sociological discourse, into our political discourse, into our, you know, social science perception of the society in which we are providing education. So all of these, my dear friends, is what is meant. Now I come to you know, my second part, and just briefly present to you the work that these young people we together did. Your entire screen, one sec, share screen. I hope I'm making some sense to you, and can you see my screen, please?
Yes, Father.
Okay, let me go back to the beginning. Yes, I mean,
It's fine.
okay, yeah, here I am beginning. Is it full screen? So, you know, this is just kind of, you know, text, kind of test run of thing that we are trying to do. Just few suggestions. I'm just sharing with you. You just listen like in just like one. Look at it this way. You are in your own institution, as I am in mine, and each of these people, they are in their own institution, and we are saying, and we are all wanting to, how do we improve? How do we create certain structure by networking with like-minded individuals across institutions to provide a platform for creative new thinking, for connecting, for collaborating, for creating, in that sense, a nexus. Because we believe that education is a matter of the heart. And only then we truly arrive at the heart of the matter of this pursuit for excellence or this academic excellence that we are after. Okay, so the two opening sentences to this is you have heard about the Fratelli Tutti, the new kind of a document and encyclical that Pope Francis. These are two quotations from there. By ourselves, we risk seeing mirages, things that are not there. Dreams, on the other hand, are built together. I thought this is a beautiful quote because just to address the theme that you have given me or I have chosen, if we think, no, academic excellence is something that me or we and our institution alone is concerned, we are in the false place. We are under false consciousness is what I am trying to assert. We, therefore, whoever is out there interested about quality and about looking at how education and the role that education is got to play needs to be dreaming. And therefore, it has to be built together. Each new generation must take up the struggles and attainments of past generations while setting its sights even higher. See, my dear friends, I could give you, my subject is philosophy. John Stratton Hawley has an entire 600-page book studying only the period of the so-called, the Bhakti movements. You are in Maharashtra, the entire corpus of from Alvars in South India to, how India of that time, we are talking about the end of Gupta era, and as Mughal Empire is getting itself straightened out, what was happening at the ground level, and all those, and your the sons of Vidova, the saints of Vidova, what role they all played, or whether it was, Mira by, you mean, so that entire government. So goodness together with love, justice and solidarity are not achieved once and for all. They have to be realized each day. I make this in a grand historical sweep. Ashokan Empire, Abraham Mirali tells us, was the golden era of India. The first millennium, from 500 BCE to 500 CE. And John Stratton Hawley is trying to say that there was a quiet sense of justice that was percolating, even when there was other kind of injustice that was being perpetuated, which knitted India together in, from the 12th, the so-called Dark Ages in some other historians' perspective, as a vibrant space. And we are saying that the period of the the British and the intervention of modernity was a new space for those who had no voice in the pre-modern setup. Whether it is, Sri Narayana Guru, or whether it is Jyotirao Phule, or it is Pandita Ramabai, the first woman to get educated and had to go to England to do that. So there was a kind of injustice that got rectified. And that is what the modern constitution, Indian constitution, is representing. And now we are saying even that is not the end of the story. We need to be looking for something new. So justice and solidarity are not achieved once and for all. They have to be realized each day. So if we are serious about our excellence search, it's hard job and tough task and serious thinking for each of us, my dear friends. Here is a group of people who did. So they are trying to say this nexus seeks to promote a shared vision beyond borders that will advance fraternity, restore human dignity, nurture, protect, and sustain the environment, and unleash the creativity of the entire community through actions that further the common good. Do you agree with this vision? Then you are invited to join part of this nexus. What is the mission? To promote boundless thinking and that motivates among this fraternity, create opportunities for building bridges, engage in action, reflection, process, revive aspects of social democracy, speak language of development. What are the goals? To identify key focus areas and sub-themes, to work on, let's say, and to articulate an action plan to member institutions, to reach out to other higher educational institutions and involve them in this action plan. And that's precisely what I am trying to do by sharing this right at its inception to you, presuming that we are all aware of whatever I said, and we are all seriously thinking, how do we make a roadmap to fulfill the vision and the mission? So the objectives, include engaging in critical and socially relevant research, active collaboration with humanities and sciences for interdisciplinary research. Now, I don't make a special mention of the sciences, and I know especially Sir Francis de Sales have a number of very good science scholars, and you have a number of publications, some staff who are doing very good work, but they will come also with a parallel group of the scientific and the social science reflections. Organize leadership programs and capacity building workshops for faculty and students, something that you are right now doing and you are attending. Establish centers to mentor faculty for lifelong learning, continuous development, and achieving expertise. This is something, really in my heart. I'm just giving you one indication of an example. Think of the fact that India has had such a great resource with its meditative history, with its approach to the whole psyche, the entire yoga, and even the the whole enterprise of both the erotic kind of thing and the psyche in terms of the kundalini powers. There's such a rich resource there, and we have modern psychology. At least if you have a good PG department of psychology and you are trying to look at not only from what these so-called masters are churning out in terms of how to improve our management skills, but how do we improve the person? How do you look at your own dark forces, your own inner energies, and how do you make and cope with those energies rising? Can we make a merger of this Western psychology and Indian psychology? I could elaborate, but I'm just giving one indication of an action plan. So, policy design cell, health, education and environment, interstate, intercultural research initiatives, research on behavioral economics. Again, for economics, also listening to me is a new field, and a whole lot of things that is happening. So interstate, intercultural and inter-institutional student exchanges, just like you are listening to me because you thought there is something that you need to be doing, and therefore maybe there is something here. So let me spend this 1 hour and listen. Don't you think like that there are so many of our students in our campuses who are bright, intelligent, and in a way waiting to get a chance to connect with some others and to create something new? I know for personally, a number of them. So if we could make an opportunity for them to come together to address the transition that we are going through, and institutional intercultural collaboration, exchanges, research pool, repository of knowledge and research, and a massive research beyond the mere buying and selling. And what we are saying is there's a lot of research that you get funded for if you are willing to say what somebody would like to hear. So there is the entire research being market driven. Are we going to fall into that trap? And if that is so, are we going to define excellence only in a particular way that our institution or our education is useful?
Father, you have enlightened us. It was very good. We came to know about many things that we are practicing in schools.
Thank you, Janaki Swami. Could you tell me where you are from?
Sir, I am from Assam. I studied in Shillong, Nehu, and now I am working in Saint Capitania School, Silchar, Assam.
Okay. Thank you, Janaki.
Thank you, Father. Thank you very much. We'd like to see more sessions from you in future.
Sure.
It was indeed a moving and enlightening session, Father. I hope it will have an immense impact on most of us present here. Your thoughts and words thoroughly kept on inspiring us. I'm sure that all of us have learned a lot from this talk.
Father, there are a few questions that the audience have asked because we have our viewers watching us both from YouTube Live, as well as most of them have joined us through Google Meet. So there are a few questions put up, Father. So may I ask them with your permission?
Yeah, please, please.
Yes, thank you, Father. I'll do that. So the first question is, Father, what are the criteria for academic success in your opinion?
Whatever is there in the NAC already defines for us, how we frame our curriculum, how we do our teaching learning. Don't we have all of that already spelled out for us? And I think the NAC team years ago in 1985, the entire Bengal was resisting in 1995. And, I remember Madam Anthony Stella coming from NAC for all the college principals. They came over to our campus just to say how the NAC devised these parameters by assessing what other countries have been doing across the world. So I think in terms of how to define academic excellence, we have all those details. How if you're taking a photograph, how we should do a geosatellite position to photograph. All those details. I mean, I don't think I need to be going further on that. I think the quickest answer would be the parameters of excellence academically are there in the NAC as a guideline. One, of course, I'm not saying there won't be other parameters that we could take up, but I guess since we are bound to go for NAC accreditation, better that we stick to those parameters and see if we are fully fulfilling those criteria. Like, for example, student feedback. I was going through your institution's student feedback which you have uploaded. And then it's very well done. And then if you also know what are the problems that students are facing, so then we show that we have taken action on what the feedback that has come from students, from the parents, or from industry, if we are having industry collaboration, so that would be, in the present situation, the other word is, right now we are on this online mode, whether we like it or not, for at least for some time to come. So those parameters, including, now I have repositioned, I used to sit with showing all my books, etc. at the background, but then that's not a friendly way of talking to you when we are online. Even my gesticulation I have begun to control because the network is bad, and then you are trying to move and you are seeing, monkey face of me on the other side, so what's the point? So how these are small details of quality that we need to be attending to in these times. Learning, how to do the PPT, how to show all those things. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, Father, I agree with you. Thank you, Father. There's another question. Is closing the achievement gap solely dependent on an institution?
No. Because this is the whole social question. So, for example, if we say that that the support, let's say the scholarships that were being given to the SC/ST students or the Dalit students or the minority students, for whatever reason, saying that our economy is now floundering and therefore we are going to stop the scholarship scheme, then we are going to be, those students should be sitting like the farmers again in that case. So then it's not a sole question of the institution, because structurally interventions could be made that would demotivate or exclude our clientele. This was one of the points that I was trying to make. I'm very glad about this question. Yeah.
Yes, Father. And one last question, Father. Does teachers' expectancy influence students' academic performances in their school subjects or institution subjects?
Could you read once again, please?
Yes, Father. Does teachers' expectancy influence students' academic performance in their school subjects?
Could you read out the name of the person, and probably if the person is there, could he or she explain? Because I guess what she's meaning or his meaning is teacher expectations.
Yeah.
Put someone, maybe if they're on the YouTube, they can't speak. Okay.
Yes, Father,
Fine.
exactly.
Yeah. So if we are talking about teachers' expectations influencing the student, definitely. For example, now here in the case now, Simran, you all thought she can do an excellent job. So that's going to give her a high, kind of self-image. Okay, I did this for it. So every time, anyway, we acknowledge a student, we encourage a student, we think that student can have a, higher potential than where he or she is. The teacher's expectation definitely has a positive impact on the student. Now, having said that, the same applies, my dear friends, to the entire neighborhood in which we are located. I'm thinking right now of the example that I saw when I went for, we have this every year, the board meeting, and even earlier I've been there. So they have a bakery, okay, right in the heart of the college campus. I'm talking about Loyola College, Chennai. Now, that bakery was started by the unemployed women, by one person of the college asking the women to come and help in the canteen. Now, these women were so got interested, they began to bake. And then some parent or a well-wisher saw this and gave them a very state-of-the-art baking system. So you have right now in the college campus, students getting an opportunity to earn and learn by helping the women of the neighborhood running a canteen, and students and people from outside placing orders when there's a wedding or when there's a Christmas or for Diwali, asking for cakes. You see what an interfacing. Now somebody's expectation led to this. Somebody saw that there is and this is when we do visioning, when we look at something new that could happen in our campuses or in our locality, each of us are doing this. We are influencing a colleague, we are influencing someone in management, we are influencing someone in the neighborhood, and as a result, we are triggering a whole lot of change. Why only students? We are doing this to each other when we encourage and motivate in a faculty meeting. That this is the whole idea behind giving awards, etc. Let's say. Yeah, I fully endorse. Yeah. Yeah, we are right on track. You have to unmute. We are right on track. We can wind up here.
Yes, Father. Thank you so much. It was indeed. Thank you so much, Father, for sparing your valuable time with us. We understand you have a busy schedule, but you did make it a point to, bring out your expertise and talk to us and share your knowledge with us. And we definitely see that if we imbibe, the things that you've said will definitely help strengthen our institution as a whole. So thank you, Father, for answering all the queries with such patience. And it was indeed a privilege to have you amongst us. At this moment, I would like to propose a formal vote of thanks. My heartfelt gratitude to the management and principal, Dr. Katie Thomas, for supporting us and organizing such a genuine and needed session on faculty development program. I would also like to thank the entire organizing team for their efforts, for their hard work, and for their dedication. And last but not the least, you, dear participants, for being such a patient and wonderful listeners. At the end, I would like to make one small announcement for the participants that please feel free to fill the feedback forms. The links of the same are available in the respective WhatsApp groups, even on YouTube live chat, as well as the Google Meet chat boxes. We will meet again tomorrow for another informative session on professional ethics and the code of ethics for teachers by Dr. P. Sivaswarup at 10:30 in the morning. Till then, stay tuned and stay blessed. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.